4 people just came back from the moon, and something is wrong. Not with the spacecraft, not with the mission, not with anything you can see on the outside. Something is wrong with them. The moment the hatch opened, the medical team's faces changed, not in panic, worse than that, in that quiet, controlled way that trained professionals use when they're trying not to show what they're actually thinking. And what happened inside that capsule in the first 48 hours after splashdown, most people will never hear about it. By the end of this video, you will. But first, you need to understand what these 4 people actually went through, because what Artemis 2 did to the human body wasn't just historic. It was something no living person had experienced in over 50 years. And the price of that journey, they're still paying it now. Stay with me, because the most shocking part of this story is not what you think it is, and I'm saving it for the very end. Let's go back to the beginning. April 2026, 4 astronauts, Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen, strapped themselves into the Orion capsule sitting on top of the most powerful rocket ever launched, the Artemis launch system. A machine that burns more fuel in 8 seconds than a commercial aircraft burns in an entire transatlantic flight. And they leave. Not to orbit the Earth, not to the International Space Station 400 kilometers up. They leave for the moon, 400,000 kilometers away. Think about that distance for a second. If you drove a car at highway speed without stopping day and night, it would take you roughly 5.5 months to get there. These 4 people made the journey in a few days. But here's what nobody talks about enough. The moment you leave low Earth orbit, everything changes. Every protection you ever had, the magnetic field, the atmosphere, it all starts to fall away. You're in deep space, real deep space. And deep space is not empty. It's filled with radiation moving at near the speed of light. Solar particles, cosmic rays, energy that punches straight through metal, straight through the capsule, straight through the human body. Wiseman, Glover, Cook, and Hansen flew around the moon. They looked out the window and saw something no human had seen with their own eyes since 1972. The far side, the craters, the absolute silence of a world without air, without weather, without life. And while they were doing that, their bodies were being changed. Not slowly, not gently, continuously, aggressively, and without warning. Here's what most people don't realize about space travel. The human body is not designed for it. At all. We evolved over millions of years under one very specific set of rules. Gravity pulling down at exactly 1 g, an atmosphere filtering radiation, day and night cycles training our internal clocks. Remove any one of those things, and the body starts to panic, quietly, invisibly, but completely. In microgravity, the spine decompresses. Astronauts grow up to 5 centimeters taller in space. That sounds fascinating until you realize it causes intense back pain and increases the risk of nerve damage. Fluid shifts upward in the body, the face swells. The brain actually compresses slightly against the skull as pressure builds. Some astronauts lose significant vision permanently because the pressure reshapes the eyeball itself, not temporarily, permanently. The heart, with no gravity to fight against, begins to shrink. It doesn't need to pump as hard, so it becomes less efficient. The cardiovascular system starts to forget what hard work feels like. Blood pressure drops. Bone density drops at roughly 1% per month in the hips and spine. That's faster than the most severe cases of osteoporosis here on Earth. Muscles waste away, even with 2 hours of mandatory exercise per day. But here's the part that truly unsettles scientists. The brain changes. Studies on returning astronauts show structural changes in white matter, shifts in cerebrospinal fluid, altered connectivity between brain regions. These are not theoretical concerns. These are visible changes on MRI scans after missions of 6 months or longer. Now here's the critical question nobody is asking loudly enough. Artemis 2 was not a 6-month mission. It was shorter, much shorter. But unlike a stay at the International Space Station, these astronauts were not protected by Earth's magnetic field, not even partially. They went beyond it, into the true radiation environment of deep space. What does that do? Honestly, scientists are still figuring it out, because almost nobody has done this in 50 years. The data barely exists, and the Artemis 2 crew just became the most important dataset in human history. Which brings us to the moment the capsule hit the water. The Orion capsule re-enters the atmosphere at nearly 40,000 kilometers per hour. The heat shield absorbs temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. The parachutes deploy in sequence. The capsule slows, and hits the Pacific Ocean. Inside, 4 people are breathing. They're alive. The mission is technically complete. But here is what nobody tells you about that moment. Those 4 astronauts are terrified to move. Not because of fear, because their bodies have completely forgotten how to exist on Earth. The inner ear, which controls balance, is recalibrating in real time and getting it wrong. The cardiovascular system, which shrank and weakened in space, is suddenly being asked to push blood upward against gravity again. The legs, which carried almost no load for days, are now being asked to support full body weight. The moment the hatch opens and outside air enters, many astronauts describe something disorienting: the smell of Earth itself. Humidity, salt air, things so familiar they became foreign. The recovery team moves with complete precision. They stabilize the capsule, they open the hatch, and they very carefully, very deliberately begin helping each astronaut out, one at a time. Not because something went wrong, but because standing up is genuinely dangerous for them right now. Blood pressure can crash when they sit upright. The heart can struggle to compensate. There have been cases of astronauts losing consciousness during recovery. The teams are trained for exactly this. And here is the moment I promised you at the beginning, the thing nobody talks about. Christina Koch, one of the 4 crew members, holds a specific record. She previously completed the longest single space flight by a woman in history. Scientists studied her body extensively after that mission. They knew her baseline. They knew exactly what to look for. And when the post-Artemis 2 medical evaluations came back, what they found confirmed something researchers had quietly feared for years. Deep space radiation, even on a relatively short mission beyond the magnetic field, appears to accelerate certain biological aging markers at a rate measurably faster than low Earth orbit missions. The cellular damage, the chromosomal changes, the immune system disruption. These 4 people came back older than they should be. Not in years, not visibly, but at the cellular level, at the DNA level. The mission cost them something that cannot be given back. And here's the part that should make you stop and think. They knew this before they launched. Every single one of them was briefed on the risks, the radiation exposure models, the long-term health projections, the unknowns. And they looked at all of it, every frightening data point, and they got in that capsule anyway. Because they understood something that the rest of us are still learning to understand. Humanity has to go back to the moon. Not for pride, not for politics, but because the next step, Mars, deep space, the survival of our species beyond this single fragile planet, requires someone to go first. Someone to absorb the unknowns. Someone to come back different so that the people who come after them don't have to pay the same price. These 4 people volunteered to be changed. They came back. They're recovering. Their bodies are relearning how to walk, how to balance, how to feel gravity. But they are not the same. And because of what their bodies went through, what was measured, what was learned, the next crew will be a little safer, and the crew after that, safer still. That's not a small thing. That might be the most human thing there is.